In this module, we'll cover some of the basic functionality of takes. We'll go over using the takes manager. We'll look at adding overrides. We'll also talk about using auto take, creating subtakes, and then also saving and exporting takes out. So let's begin by just getting an overview of the takes manager. So we've got Cinema 4D open here, and we've just got kind of a bathroom scene. Here's the picture viewer, and then we've got the scene in the background. So as kind of an explanation of what takes are going to be used for, let's say that we have this environment, but we don't really know what we want some of the colors or materials to look like. So maybe we want this, we don't know whether we want this to be blue, the picture on the wall, or we want it to be a different color. Maybe we don't know if we want to have the towels to be different color, or maybe the bottles, we want to have different styles. And we want to be able to have a very flexible workflow in creating those different variations so that we can pick what we would like to use. That's where takes is going to come in. Now, the key in working with takes is going to be using the takes manager. So just like our objects manager, there's a takes manager. You can access the takes manager right up here. There's a little tab right underneath the objects manager. So we'll click on takes, and you can see this brings up this section right up here. We've got a little menu up at the top. We've got some icons, and then we've got two different sort of sections over here on the sides. On the left-hand side, these are our takes. That's where the takes are going to live. And then over here on the right is our override tree. That's where the different attributes that we're going to be changing based on the takes are going to be displayed right over here. Okay, so the idea is you can see that there's a main take that already exists. If we don't have any takes, then we're working with our complete file. We don't have any variations in here. So we're going to have this main take no matter what. But we can also go in and add takes by hitting this little button, create a new take, or we can just double click in our view, and that will create a new take. And you can see that it's nested underneath the main take. So the idea is that if we want to create any sort of variations from the main take, we can put those into new takes to create specific variation, blue towels versus green towels, or different lid types for our shampoo bottles. And we can add those into the new take. The only values that are going to be in this new take, and they're going to be listed over here, are going to be things that deviate from the main take. So that color that we want to change for the material, or that bevel that we want to change on the cap, those are going to be saved in these new takes. So you can see here there's a little crosshair on the left that indicates what our current take is, and you can also see the name of the take in the viewport update here as I click through these takes. We now have the name of the take, and we can come in here and rename that just by double clicking. We also have markers here, so if we have multiple takes, we can mark those. And then we can change camera settings for the take, or choose the camera, and we can also change render settings based on the take. So we can assign cameras and assign render settings to individual takes. And then when we start to go in and add our overrides, those are going to be listed over here in our override tree. If we take a look at our menu, we'll talk about a lot of these things. We can save presets, and we can load presets. Auto take is something that we will definitely talk about. And then you can also add a new take from there, add an override group, and then we can save and export our takes into documents. We can also change our view. So right now we're in dual tree view, but you can see here's take tree and override tree. And we can change what we're looking at. So here we're just looking at the takes. But if we want to look at both, we can do this. Okay, overrides. These are the kinds of attributes that we can override. Okay, the kinds of attributes that we can change based on the take that we are working with. There are certain things that we can't include in takes. You can pretty much think of anything that's that we can set in the attribute manager is something that we can add an override to and thus change based on the different takes. Now, cool thing is that we can also, once we've got our take set up, we can render out multiple takes. So if we have lots of those variations, we can really quickly render those out and see that variation in action. Okay, then up here we have some icons that are related to some of the things that we saw in our menus. We've got our override group and our new take, auto take, which is currently turned off, block overrides, and then render all marked takes or all takes. So we've got some of those commonly used buttons right up here. All right, so this is where we're going to be looking at the takes as we create those. And then over here on the right, that's where we're going to see those attributes that we want to change based on the takes. So in the next lesson, let's go ahead and start to add an override so that we can add some variation to our scene.